Hi again, I'm Stephen Wessner, CEO of Predictive ROI. If you've yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do. Please click the subscribe button below and also the bell next to it so you get our notification every Thursday when we upload a new video. We'd love to have you as part of our community. So today, I'm going to try to bring all of this Dream 25 conversation, kind of try to bring that to closure. And so what I mean by that is, in the video maybe 3 weeks ago, I walked through the process of how to build your Dream 25, like who is in your Dream 25, from a criteria, question perspective, how to really build that list so that it was the right list, that it was a specific list, so that it was exactly who should be in your Dream 25. So we covered that about 3 weeks ago. And then the week after that, we talked about how to use, or how to position your content, I should say, as your Trojan horse of sales, how to open the door with your Dream 25 prospects using your content. And then last week, I talked about how, let's say that you're doing your interviews, awesome, but what are the things that need to happen on a monthly basis downstream in order to make sure that you're moving the relationship forward, because you're so very focused on the smarts of your Dream 25 and the insights and wisdom that they shared with your audience, and it is never, ever about you, because that would feel schwarmy. So now, how do you actually make the ask? How do you move the relationship forward so that you can actually have a sales conversation with a Dream 25 prospect without it ever feeling like biz dev? Is there a way to do it? Yes, there is a way to do it. So once again, you've established all of that relationship and all of that context, first, don't be surprised when your Dream 25 prospect, one or two of them, reach out to you and say, hey, I've got this thing. I think you work on that kind of stuff. Is there a way that you and your team might be able to help our team with that thing? So don't be surprised if several of your Dream 25 prospects at some point just reach out to you proactively and say, I don't know if this is what you do. I think it might be. Is there a way that you could help me? So that will happen at some point. Again, this is a long-term strategy, dare a decade, that they might be part of your Dream 25. All right, so how do we proactively make the ask without it ever feeling schwarmy? So here's what I would suggest that you do. So whatever kind of business that you're in, whatever type of B2B professional service that you're in, here's what I would suggest. Let's say that you just recently launched a project for a client and it was super impactful. It was really helpful. It helped move their business forward. Maybe you wrote a case study about it, or maybe there's a story about it online, whatever it might be. But like, you can clearly articulate what happened with that particular client and how your service and how your team was helpful in that scenario in helping that client move their business forward. So I would suggest that you write a very simple email. And let's say that you're sending that to Sarah, and Sarah's part of your Dream 25. I would say something like this. Hi, Sarah. Thanks again for being my guest on X video series, your video series, whatever your video series is titled. Hey, Sarah, thanks again for being my guest on X video series. I really appreciate how you were super helpful to our audience. And when you said X, I think that really was helpful to our audience because of this, that, and the other thing. Okay, so you're reestablishing context. Now, after you establish that introductory context, you're now ready to move on to point number 2 in this ask email. And that's where you start to share strategy about, or the strategy around a solution that you just created for one of your clients. Let's call that company XYZ. And so you might say to Sarah, hey, Sarah, we just recently launched this new project, new service, new whatever on behalf of company XYZ. And here's why I think that you'll think that this is interesting. And then start to talk about some of the challenge, the obstacles in the industry, how you helped XYZ be more proactive or connect with customers, or the research that you did. And then say, I think this strategy potentially could have some interest to you too. Because back when we did our interview, you mentioned this, that, and the other thing. And that got me also thinking about this strategy that we were working on for XYZ. But I wanted to make sure that that was done first and then share that with you. And so then the third piece would be, is there a day or time next week that we might be able to sit down and talk about that, because I'd love to share some of the behind the scenes and how we made that work, because my guess is there could be some value there for you and your team. Is there a day or time next week that we might be able to connect? So now let's kind of come full circle in this context of relationship. You invited Sarah to be a guest on your video series. And the video was awesome. She was awesome. You did everything you could in order to really highlight her smarts, her insights, her wisdom in front of your audience during the interview. And she felt like a rock star after the interview. So you did a great job as a host. Fantastic. And you never, ever, ever sold a thing to Sarah. You resisted the temptation. Fantastic. And then after that, on a monthly basis, you were sharing not gifts, you were sharing more ways to share the insights and wisdom that Sarah shared with your audience, how you could share that in new ways with your audience, how you could further highlight what you learned from Sarah, and now you're passing that on to your audience over different channels. Fantastic. And you're tagging Sarah and all of that, making it, by the way, really easy for her to share then with her social community or forward an e-newsletter to her list, whatever. But you did an excellent job of further highlighting how she was helpful to your audience. Now you're looping back to Sarah and saying, hey, we did this project for this company, XYZ. This was the strategy behind it. When you said this during the interview, that got me thinking about this work that we were working on for XYZ, but I wanted to make sure that we finished that before I shared how we were working on that. And now, if there's a day or time next week, I would love to take you behind the scenes and talk about that and how maybe that could also be valuable to moving your business forward. Is there a day or time next week that we could do that? Sarah, not 100% of the time, but Sarah is going to get that email and say, probably, heck yes, I want to have that conversation, because you have proven yourself as a dependable, super smart, successful business person who did not try to sell anything. And in fact, you highlighted her insights and wisdom with your audience in multiple different ways. And you just gave. And now, by the way, that email, that ask email, the sales email, is now an opportunity for you to share additional insights with her about how she can help her team be better and move her business forward. That never feels like sales. That feels like two business people who have a context of relationship now coming together to mutually to mutually benefit each other. So that's how you close the loop. And it never, ever, ever feels like sales. So I hope that this process of identifying the Dream 25, using the Trojan horse of sales to open the door, everything that needs to happen downstream with your Dream 25, so that you really take that relationship as deep as you possibly can, and also helpful to your audience at the exact same time, and also helpful to the audience of your Dream 25 prospects at the same time, and then reaching out in a way that you can be super helpful to them in moving their business forward. And it never, ever, ever felt like biz dev. So I hope that was helpful to you. Please leave me your comments, your questions in the fields below, because I'd love to be able to answer the questions, and your comments and feedback help me get better each and every week. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. Click the subscribe button, the little notification bell. You'll get a notification every Thursday when we send out a new video. And until next week, double down and onward with gusto.